Here at 6 o'clock, and welcome in. I'm Marc Mullins. IndyCar is taking a step in an effort to diversify open-wheel racing and create more opportunities for minorities. Well, great news tonight for the Colts and their fans. Less than 3 weeks after undergoing surgery to remove a cancerous tumor, Rigoberto Sanchez will play Sunday. With the workload from Amazon, it didn't take long before Steve needed more than just one truck. One truck led to 2 trucks and led to a third, which meant more job opportunities. First tonight, new information from the Marion County Coroner's Office about what they're facing as COVID continues to spread. A huge recall, an expensive recall, announced today for General Motors. One of the concerns for neighbors is what happens to all this water once the temperatures dip below the freezing point. Over the course of the pandemic, with all of us spending more time at home, we've bonded closely with our pets and vice versa. Today, the U.S. Surgeon General returned to his medical roots here in Indiana to promote the safety of the coronavirus vaccines for people of all ethnicities. He's encouraging all Hoosiers to get the shot when it's their turn. There are roughly 5,700 employees who work here. Half of them live in Lafayette. The other half come in from surrounding counties in Metro Indianapolis. Just into WRTV, Metro Police are sharing images of a person of interest and the vehicle that man was driving that could be connected to a deadly hit-and-run collision late Saturday night. Tonight, former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg is poised to join the cabinet of one-time rival Joe Biden. New at 11, the head of a police department about 25 minutes outside of Indy is using his experience with COVID to urge people in smaller communities to take the virus seriously. We're taking time to remember the 2,403 U.S. military members and civilians who were killed when the Japanese attacked Hawaii's Pearl Harbor on this date in 1941. The death of a local physician is highlighting concerns about racial disparities in the healthcare system. Dr. Susan Moore died Sunday from complications of coronavirus. Earlier this month, she recorded a video from her IU Health North Hospital bed, saying her doctor repeatedly ignored her complaints about pain and wanted to send her home.
This is inspiring me. I think I'm going to write a letter to our mayor.
Tonight, when the power of children meets the power of the pen, a 4th grader is using loose leaf and graphite to draw some attention to changes that he'd like to see in his neighborhood. He's concerned about safety. He's worried someone could get hurt if the city doesn't do something about the lack of sidewalks in his Lebanon neighborhood. And tonight, his handwritten note to the mayor is making the grown-ups take notice. The note starts quite simply. Dear Mayor Gentry, I'd like to inform you John Bart Road needs a sidewalk.
It's like not safe. Like people have to go over to the other lane when people are walking by. And I was like, there's a chance of car crashes and it's a chance of people getting hit. So I'm like, we need a sidewalk on John Bart Road.
So Calvin Fox saw a problem, picked up a pencil, and did something to put change into motion on his suburban street.
I mean, it's not every day that a student from 4th grade writes a letter to the mayor.
You as a child can make change too. And so, you just have to get involved and get your voice out there. So when he said he wanted to write the letter, we said, sure, we'll look up the address and help you do it.
The 4th grader from Perryworth Elementary School sent Lebanon Mayor Matt Gentry a letter explaining how a sidewalk would help keep joggers and dog walkers safe in his neighborhood. He also said it would help decrease the chance of car crashes.
And we had to run across the yards. I'm thinking if we had a sidewalk, I wouldn't have to grow through people's yards and like maybe dogs won't have to chase after us much.
It's a note Mayor Gentry found difficult to ignore, especially since Calvin's last line of the letter reads, please write back.
He let me know what his opinion was. He thought, John Bart Road needed a sidewalk and essentially wanted me to do something about it.
Well, Mayor Gentry posted Calvin's letter to social media, praising the initiative of the 10-year-old boy. The mayor says walkability and safe pedestrian walkways and trails are a priority as Lebanon expands. But unfortunately for Calvin and his neighbors, there's a snag.
He actually does not live within city limits, so I can't really kind of get out the street department crew and go build a sidewalk for him tomorrow. But it's something that as we grow as a community, we do want to keep that in mind.
For Calvin, it may be his first lesson in red tape. But one thing is for sure, he has raised an issue and put it in front of government leaders.
Sidewalks can really do a lot to safety, is the thing.
A note, polite, direct, and to the point, showing we can all push to make a difference at the local level. Well, Mayor Gentry says he has responded to Calvin and put a note in the mail. Even if the Fox family lived in the Lebanon city limits, the mayor says the sidewalk project would take a couple of years. Their neighbors would have to sign off on the project too. But for now, the neighborhood is under the jurisdiction of Boone County. We're sharing Calvin's letter with the county commission. We'll let you know how they respond. For people who have served their debt to society and are preparing to leave prison, life on the outside brings extra challenges these days when you throw in the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight, I show you a fairly new program focusing on the health of those experiencing their newly found freedom.
I went from being a piece of crap to humbling myself before God.
Spend a few minutes talking to Charles Miller, and you quickly learn he wants to make better choices for a better life for himself now that he's out of prison.
It's hard to, to talk to people, man, to show that you ain't that same person that you was that many years ago, man.
Charles was convicted in the mid-90s for burglaries and other serious aggressive crimes. The punishment? 26 years in state prison. He's been out since March.
No matter how much time you spend, 30 days or 30 years, it ain't, something changes. Inside of you, and if you didn't have good skills before you got locked up, you sure in the hell ain't got them when you get out, and you can't do it without people, man, and that was my biggest barrier. I didn't want to trust nobody.
But now, bit by bit, Charles is gaining the confidence and help to be successful on the outside, thanks to a fairly new program and way of thinking at the Indiana Department of Correction, focusing on what administrators are calling transitional health care.
Don't wait for them to get out and fail. Address the issues that we know inside, transition them out to home, hopefully to never come back to us.
Christine Daniel is the director of transitional health for the IDOC. She says this new approach helps fill the gaps for people leaving the prison system, adjusting to new freedom.
So maybe gaps in insurance coverage, which would affect a person's ability to get treatment. Maybe a gap in healthcare services because they had a wait list.
Before his release, Charles was having painful issues with his knees. Myrna Martin is a transitional healthcare liaison. She helped Charles to secure health insurance and ultimately schedule a procedure for his leg.
Once I got my insurance, I had my knee surgery about September, and so that knee is okay now.
His other knee is next, and then he's on a pathway to securing a job. Myrna also helped Charles obtain an ID card and register for Social Security and temporary housing. The goal of transitional health is to set up exiting inmates for success and remove barriers.
We really started to look at what can we do pre-release to make that transition smoother. So it's perhaps doing assessments that would normally done on the outside, inside, before they're released.
Though controversial, the program even provides exiting inmates with naloxone or Narcan, a drug which reverses the effects of an opioid overdose.
Why shouldn't they leave with this life-saving drug? They're a vulnerable population. It makes sense that they should have direct access to this drug.
The transitional healthcare approach puts heavy emphasis on an exiting inmate's mental and physical well-being, with the goal of reducing the recidivism rate. That is, keeping those who leave the prison system from ending up behind bars again.
People releasing from the department are going back to all of our communities. They have served their sentence. They have worked hard, to maybe get into recovery or to address trauma from their past or to learn a new job skill. And if they're going to return to my neighborhood and your neighborhood, I think we all would want them to be prepared and healthy to come back as a productive citizen.
And that's exactly what Charles wants to be, and is taking the small steps to get there, with some help along the way.
If you get out, no matter how much confidence you got, and if you ain't got none, you just find somebody you can trust, man, because the system got to work for you, man. If they don't work for you, you got nothing, dude.
Well, since the program is so relatively new, it's too early to determine whether or not it's working. But it does have nearly a dozen community partners helping meet the health needs of people leaving prison. If you'd like to learn more, we have provided a link in this story on the WRTV mobile app. On North Post Road on Indy's east side, you'll find the Sweat Box Wellness Center, run by Suzette Sweat and her husband Daniel.
We're basically known for our personal training and our women in weights, so we train small groups of women together.
A small business focusing on fitness, literally trying to bounce back from the COVID-19 stay-at-home orders.
We got the governor's recommendation to shut down completely, and so that was, I will say, devastating.
They lost 75% of their revenue, but as restrictions lifted under the reopening plans, Suzette stumbled upon a tweet which led her to the Indy Chamber's Ready to Restart program and grant money available to small businesses in Marion County to help with COVID-related reopening costs. The available grant money can be used to reimburse business owners for things like facial masks or disinfectant wipes, anything that they would need to enter into this new phase of operating a business. The City of Indianapolis and the Indy Chamber teamed up to use a portion of the city's CARES Act funding to provide $5,000 reimbursement grants.
Free money, so yeah, definitely encourage people to and businesses to sign up and to fill out an application. I think a lot of people sometimes think they'll be left out, and that's not what we at the Indy Chamber are for. We're here to help all businesses, and we've kind of proven that throughout the midst of COVID.
In total, there's a $5 million pot available for businesses, thanks to additional contributions from donor partners like CareSource, which threw in $180,000 to the Ready to Restart program.
The grant component that we're funding is simply a grant. There is no repayment options. They get the money to use for the necessary PPE and personal safety and health equipment.
Eligible businesses in Marion County must have less than 150 employees, and those businesses must have purchased PPE, professional cleaning and disinfection services, or made capital improvements as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Suzette and Dan Sweat were reimbursed $5,000 for installing an air purifying and circulation system in their facility.
The process was easy, basically a few documentations, your receipt, an itemized statement, so it wasn't like a long, tedious process. I will say that this was probably by far the easiest one to apply for.
No sweat. Working for you on Indy's East Side, Marc Mullins, RTV